Morning, folks. It's a cloudy, kind of a dreary day today. We're out here working on a project, and I wanted to take and kind of do a little bit different video. It's going to be kind of an educational video about fencing. We get a lot of questions about fencing and what the costs are and that sort of thing. So I'm going to take and give you a little bit different video today. The very first thing that you have to do is you've got to figure out what you're keeping in or what you're keeping out. That's going to determine what type of fence you're going to be using. Up here, for the most part, people are keeping out range cattle. Some people like us are keeping in horses and their own cows. Some are sheep, some goats. But for the most part, everybody up here uses 4 strands of barbed wire and with some stays. So you got to sit down and you got to figure out how many feet you have around your property. There's a lot of different little apps and websites you can go to. I've got one on my phone which will figure up footage. It's going to get you fairly close. Some of them are not 100% foolproof. An acre is 208 by 208. We figure it up according to the plat map, because a lot of these properties are not cut up in a rectangle or a square. So your plat map that you get when you buy your property, or you have your property surveyed, is what you will go by on how many total feet you're going to need. Now, some properties are not surveyed when you buy them. The very first thing I would do if I bought a property, especially if you're going to fence it, is get it surveyed. This property right here was surveyed, and this is the actual property line. But the stipulations within the deed and the way this property was sold, it has a 30-foot easement on each property. So we had to move our fence 30 foot in from the line and 30 foot from the property line. So that's the very first thing that we had done. We looked at the plat map, we figured out the footage, therefore we knew the cost of material based upon that footage. Everything here in America is based on footage. So if you on feet, the measurement of feet. So your rolls of wire, most barbed wire is 1,320 feet per roll. That's going to tell you, depending on how far apart you put your posts. We put ours every 15 feet with 2 stays, which Miss Polly is going to be laying out here and installing while I go work on the back fence. Get 2 stays in between each 15 foot. Now there again, if you're part of a property owners association, or there's stipulations, they call them CC and Rs. Those are the rules and regulations of that particular property subdivision. You're going to want to take and consult those. Make sure that you're not putting in a fence that you're going to have to tear out later. Some of them are quite strenuous. There's one property we helped out a guy put his fence in, and they wanted 3 stays in between a 15-foot gap. So make sure you check those things out first before you go to making any plans, because that's going to impact your overall cost. So once you get the property surveyed, we had a surveyor come out and he marked off our 30-foot easements all the way around this property, which made it real easy for clearing. If you're doing clearing by hand, it can be a really labor-intensive process. If you're in wooded areas like this with a lot of brush, we used a backhoe and we pushed most of this out with a backhoe and made our way all the way around this property. Before you string your first line, before you do anything, you're going to have your property line clean. Now, if you're doing barbed wire, you don't have to have as wide of an area. We like to have plenty to where we're not being in a mess all the time, stumps and that sort of thing. So we clear out pretty good area. If you're doing woven wire or no climb horse fence, 2x4 no climb, you're going to want a bigger area because those things are heavy and they're hard to maneuver. I don't care how much you have on the roll. You'll have to excuse the wind, but let's just stop right here a minute and let's talk about materials. Now, there's a lot of different fencing materials out there today. Here we're using galvanized products. They're galvanized pipe. You can find these at big box stores. You can find these at fence companies that install, like Chain Link. You can get them in various sizes, 16 gauge, 20 schedule, 40 schedule, or schedule 20, schedule 40, however you want to say it. And all the fittings, they have them. You can also order it online. Now, with that being said, there are wood posts. There are treated posts. Now, treated posts, they're a little bit more heavier. They're a little bit harder to handle. And in my opinion, don't do any better job and don't last as long as galvanized. One of the reasons we started using galvanized products was just availability. Wood posts are just hard to find. We have a shortage of them right now in the United States for whatever reason. So we've been using galvanized, real happy with them, and they hold up really well over time. They don't rust in most grounds. There are what we call creosote treated posts. They are generally heavier than even treated. They do last a long time. They are stinky and you don't want to get it on you. I have got creosote poisoning from handling them. Got it on my arms during the summer, sweating, got it into my pores, broke out. You can do the same thing if you're allergic to treated also. So, and then you have what I really like is the Timeless. It's a PVC, rigid PVC product. We use quite a bit of it. We like it. It's not really any more expensive than anything else. It's just, for us, it's an accessibility issue to just go and order it when we have a project we need to do right now. They have gotten better at supply. They can have it shipped to you a whole lot quicker. They've got more lines running, but shipping costs do hurt. So you have to figure in what's the easiest for you and for what you're putting up. Now, if you're just putting up 4 strands of barbed wire, these 2 7/8 galvanized are gonna be great. They're gonna work really well for you. A 4 to 5 inch treated post, same with creosote, they're gonna work really well for you. And you do have other options if your property is forested like this. If time is not an issue, you can cut juniper, cedar. In the eastern states, you also have locust, honey locust, and or hedge apple. I would say these have been here for a lot of years. Some of these have axe marks on them, so they've been added when somebody did not have a saw. You do have that option. More labor intensive, but will save you a ton of money. If time is not an issue, I say go for it. On my property, I didn't want it. I didn't want to do the juniper. I wanted something that looked more uniform, and so I waited until I got it. Time is also an issue for me. I don't have a lot of it. There are all types of T-posts. These are 125s, or they weigh a pound, 0.25 per foot. They have went up in price like everything else. There's also PVC. There are wood posts that you can buy. They're 3 inch that you can drive in with a good hammer. There are also driving machines. It really depends upon your budget and what you're wanting to do. Most DIYers are gonna go out there, they're gonna do it themselves. And if you're lucky enough to be able to get somebody to help you install it, then it's always a blessing to be able to have it done if you not have to break your back doing it. So let's assume that you've chosen what type of post you're going to be using, what type of materials, what type of fencing. What's the next step? The next step is to set all your corner posts. I like to set them all, and then once our corner posts are set, I run a guide wire. You can run, if you're doing other types of fence like electric fence, you can run a string and then drive your T-posts on that string. It's really blowing in a cold, wet, rainy day here. But what I'm going to be doing, because we're running barbed wire, I'm going to run a barbed wire from here all the way up there to the top of the hill to our next corner post. That's going to be our guide wire, and we will drive all of our posts and set our middle brace according to that. Okay, so I've run this line from where I was at down there to up here, and I've stretched it. If you're going to be using barbed wire, a fence stretcher is a good idea to have. These retail anywhere between $39 and $59, depending on where you buy them. So the next thing we'll do is we will snap this line just like you would a chalk line to make sure it's straight. I'll go down through here and kind of pick up on it and snap it, and I'm gonna, first of all, I'm gonna tie it off. One of the good things about barbed wire is you can tie it off and you can stretch it again and retie it, which is really nice. That's our next step. So this ensures we have a really straight line for our fence line, where we're going to put our posts and where we're going to drive our T-posts. A quick note about corner posts: we tip all of our corner posts out both directions. So this fence is going to go right through that opening there. So we've tipped this corner post this way and this way back towards us. And the reason we do that is to compensate for any pull, or maybe later if there's an impact, like a cow hits the fence or a deer or elk hits the fence and pulls the fence. When you go to fix it, you don't want your corner post to already be out of plumb. So it gives us a little bit of insurance to where if later there is a problem in the fence line, our corner posts are not leaning into the fence and out of plumb. So what Miss Polly's going to be doing right here now is she's going to go down this fence line and she's going to snap this line and get it straight, and we can start putting in our line posts. Another note on corner posts: depending on the size of the corner post you're going to use, it's going to determine how big of a hole you want to drill. The bigger the post, the bigger the hole, because you want more concrete around your post. Now, you can tamp a post back in, and like I said, there are machines that ram posts and you can drive them in that way. We prefer to set all of ours in concrete. So for this size post here, which is almost 3 inches, we go for an 8-inch hole. That gives us a sufficient amount, about 2.5 inches of concrete all the way around the post, and we try to get it right in the center. That way we've got sufficient enough concrete to hold this post. The other thing is the depth. We try to get at least 30 inches, 36 if we can, and up to 40 on the bigger posts, just to try and get them anchored in the ground even further. So you want to take that into consideration when you're determining what type of post you want to use. This is the same line that we pulled earlier today, where we made our line, pulled it straight. And the first thing we did is we come down here and we dug our hole for our middle post. We've got about 500 feet on each side of this post going up through here. This was our middle post. We set it in concrete, and then we started driving T-post. I drove about 65 T-posts in about an hour and 15 minutes. Alrighty folks, we are out here again putting in fence. I want to take and show you a few things. One of the things we do that makes our life a lot simpler is we pre-mark our posts. This is the depth we're going to be driving to. As much prep work as you can do to begin with, that will help you later. We try to take and not really cut corners, but just be more prepared. So one of the things that Miss Polly is doing is she is pulling our first strand to 14 inches, which is what we are using here to end up with a 50-inch tall fence. And as she's pulling this first strand, she's then marking the post where each additional strand goes. That way, the next strand that we run down this hill and tighten, all we have to do is pull it up there, clip it, and go to the next one. We don't have to have tape measures, don't have to have any kind of measuring stick. It's all pre-done for us. And it doesn't take her that much longer. Once she's pulled that 14, she's already got a tape measure in her hand. She pulls it, marks it, and on to the next one. We've tried a lot of systems, marking the ground with paint, putting sticks in the ground, marking it with our foot, measuring with a tape measure. And this way right here, with putting flags every 15 feet, Miss Polly walks it off and she puts a flag where every post goes. Makes it a whole lot easier for me when I come through and start driving posts. I don't have to worry about measuring, worrying about where it goes. Another pre-step that we do, and then we're able to put our braces in between where a post would go instead of just going, well, let's just put one here. So it works out a little bit more evenly. And then as she comes along, she pulls that flag, puts it back in her bucket. A little bit windy out here today. We're out here on the front side of this project we've been working on, and this is one of our gate posts. And we double brace our gates because of the swing. It puts a lot of stress on a gate post. You can do this with wood or with steel. Our pattern, it stays the same. We're 3 foot out from the post, and we start our ditch. The post goes down at 5 feet. It's about 2.5 feet deep, depending on the grade of the property. Sometimes where you put them, you got to dig deeper because you're going uphill, or it's a little bit more shallow if you're going downhill. So we do this to brace these posts to where they can take the swing of the gate. The gate is going to swing this way. If it were a straight in drive, you could actually just put your brace straight back in or just off center, and that would help it even more. So I want to take and show you guys that. The recipe for these A-frames is 42 inches from the ground up. We start a trench at 3 feet to 5 feet, and we dig it as deep. These are 7-foot braces. They're going down into the hole. I usually dig a little bit deeper so that I put concrete under the brace, so it's pushing against the whole concrete once it sets up, and it makes a really nice gate post to swing gates on. So I just thought I'd take and show you guys that. And like I said, you can do this with wood, with steel, whatever you're working with, you can do this with.